Well, they put out a trailer for the new Supergirl movie, and I'm still not feeling amazing about it. Now, here's the thing. Right up front, I love Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow by Tom King and Bill Everly. I've said this many times, one of my favorite comics of the last decade. I wish I had it out, but I don't because I'm moving and it's all packed. All the trades are in boxes. Also, my cat Mortimer is all around. He's got a lot of energy right now because he loves Supergirl. He's a big fan of Supergirl because Supergirl traditionally has a cat. She has Streaky the Super Cat, and even Power Girl also has a cat. Power Girl is like the Supergirl from another universe. The one is known for the boobs, but like she's fun. I like Power Girl. She's kind of like the She-Hulk of DC, and I love She-Hulk, so how can I not like her? But okay, so I love Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. If it feels like I'm being a little hard on this movie, it's not because I want it to fail. It's because I want it to succeed. I have very high hopes for this, and like, when they announced that they were working on a Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow movie, I was like, oh my god, yes, for sure. The book is so cinematic because it's based off a very famous movie, kind of, but also just like it looks amazing. The art for that book is stunning. And if they can get 20% of what's on the book on screen in terms of like creativity, this movie will blow people away. And I watched the teaser and I was like, oh, I don't love the look of this movie. But, you know, it's the teaser. Maybe they don't want to show everything. And also, maybe they don't have all the effects finished. Very possible. However, now we saw the trailer, and it looks a lot like the teaser, and I am underwhelmed by the look of this movie. Not to say the effects don't look good. It all looks fine. But, like, it's hard to overstate how much of that book comes down to the visuals. And it's very strange to me, because it's not like James Gunn doesn't know Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. He clearly does. Tom King's working on the Lantern show, so I'm sure he's in the next room and he's probably got Bill Everly on speed dial. People didn't know speed dial used to be a thing. Anyway, and the trouble here, I think, isn't just that it doesn't look like the book. It's that is a big selling point. That is a big part of what will make this story exciting and interesting. And sure, Supergirl has not been in a lot of movies, so that part of it will be fun. The kind of road trip aspect of it is fun. Some of the big set pieces, some of them are really memorable. It's unclear if they're going to do all of those, but like, there are a lot of things about this movie that, if translated from the book, can be really appealing to people, but the visuals are like number one. And I think these days with superhero movies, people need a reason to see them. It used to be that they would kind of automatically go, ooh, a Marvel movie, yeah, check that out. Those are usually pretty good. And, you know, I feel like Marvel and DC as well, like they have been trying to adapt to that and trying to go, okay, we're going to do this one differently. This one's going to look very different. It's going to be a completely different take on Fantastic Four. It's not going to be like anything you've seen before. You're not going to be watching the same movie 4 times a year. Like, clearly that is a big directive at Marvel, and I think it has been paying off. Even if these movies aren't like making enormous box office records, like I think they're leaving people happy and excited about the future, and I think that means Doomsday could be in a really good spot. So it is troubling for me that this Supergirl movie, based on this big exciting comic, looks like Guardians of the Galaxy. And I like Guardians of the Galaxy. I think that movie is fun. I think visually there are some parts of those movies that are very distinct and memorable, but a lot of them take place on sets, and that's fine. The problem comes in when people see that here and go, oh, I've already seen that movie. I know what that is. And yeah, James Gunn's not directing this one, but he's worked on it. And I think if you were copying the aesthetic of a movie, there's worse movies to copy than Guardians of the Galaxy. But I don't know, the fact that I'm not seeing exciting visuals here does not feel like a good sign. Here's another not good sign. This is a small thing. It is weird, right, that Kara has the same headphones as Star-Lord does, because Star-Lord had them for a very specific reason. He left Earth in the 80s and he keeps them around because they're very important to him because of the connection to his mother and music and Earth. But like, Kara wasn't on Earth in the 80s. Why would she have them? And I'm worried that the why is because that's what a Star-Lord character has, so that's what she has, and then that's going to feel kind of hollow, you know? I do think this movie is going to have an incredibly hard time beating the Guardians of the Galaxy with Supergirl allegations, considering the plot is very similar to the plot of Guardians of the Galaxy 3. A guy shows up and attacks the animal, and everybody has a couple of days to go through space and find the cure for the animal. But again, I don't think that's an enormous problem because Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is good. But I think there are a lot of people that need to be sold on a superhero movie as something new and something fresh and exciting. And I also think our sensibilities as an audience have moved on from the Guardians of the Galaxy of 2014, like Nowhere, that aesthetic. It was fun and it was kind of realistic and gritty and stuff, but I think now audiences want big and bold and exciting and vibrant, and I don't think everything needs to be like that. Clayface probably won't, but the movie based on the comic Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow definitely should be. You know, like, I think maybe the worst thing that happened to Supergirl the movie this year is Project Hail Mary, because Project Hail Mary is the proof that this can be done. A space movie can look gorgeous. Space can look exciting and dangerous and optimistic, but it can look colorful. It's the kind of movie that you go like, I do want to see that, but also I want to see it in IMAX, like humongous screen, because that's the only way I'll be able to take in all of the visuals. Like Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow should be that. And in another year, maybe we say, well, it would be nice if it looks like the comics, but a movie can't look like that. But one does, and it's enormously popular. It's going to make a boatload of money. So Supergirl is going to be compared to it. I also think it's wild that today 3 trailers came out. You got the Backrooms trailer, which looks, kind of good. And then you have the trailer for the adaptation of Supergirl and the adaptation of He-Man. Both of the source materials, like Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow and the He-Man cartoon, very vivid, colorful, vibrant, larger-than-life characters. And yet, only one of the movies seems to have committed to that, and it's the He-Man one. Real quick little diversion on He-Man, because I don't think I'm going to make a full He-Man movie, but I don't know, this will be a short or something. That movie looks incredibly fine, but it feels like it's missing like one big movie star that everyone loves that we're excited to see. Kind of the same way, like, I don't know if Dungeons & Dragons would have worked without Chris Pine. That's not to say that I don't think the guy playing Prince Adam is good, because I think, A, he looks perfect, and B, we haven't seen the movie yet, but I don't know if Idris Elba is enough. But I am surprised that, like, Alison Brie is in this movie, and she has a pretty big fan base, like, people like her, and she's only been in one tiny bit of one shot. Like, sell her, make her part of the marketing, and, like, recast Skeletor. I don't know how much money it's going to cost. It'll cost money, The best time to do it would have been before you recorded it, but the second best time to do it is now, because there is a stink on Jared Leto right now that is dragging this movie down, and if they cut him and replaced him with someone who is good at this, get someone weird, someone who's down to have fun, get like Tom Hiddleston. I feel like that's the easy sub in here. He's low-key and he can kind of do this, but play it real campy. It'll get so much goodwill. People will be so excited for this movie. And then maybe it can be successful, because I want this to be successful. I think it looks fun. Anyway, Supergirl. Let's say this. The Lobo in the trailer. Big part of the trailer is Lobo. I think that is smart. I kind of wish there was a Lobo movie. Not that I wish they had the Lobo movie instead of the Supergirl movie, but it just kind of makes me go like, oh, we should give him his own movie. And, like a buddy comedy kind of thing where him and somebody who's nothing like him have to go do a mission, which is kind of what this is, but like a much less serious version of that. I will say my big thing about Jason Momoa in this is like, he is a perfect Lobo, but also this Lobo that we're seeing here is just Aquaman again, because Aquaman was just Lobo. Most of the characters Jason Momoa plays are Lobo, which means he's a real good fit for Lobo, but it also means we've seen this before. If he had never done one of these and he just showed up and it was like, this is the Lobo, my jaw would drop. Like, oh my God, he's perfect. Like, where'd you get him? Did you print him straight from the comic book? Like, look at that guy. Like the Space Hog looks great. Whipping the chain around, that looks great. And he is the one thing that I think looks perfect in this movie. He's the one thing that's also not in Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. However, I do think it's interesting to look at the villain, because that seems like the biggest choice they've made in terms of design, right? Because there's some things here where you still can be like, well, the movie's gonna look more exciting than this. Like, they're gonna have big, cool looking space scenes and weird planets and stuff, but they're just not finished with them or showing them yet. However, Creme of the Yellow Hills feels like a sign here that, like, this is what this movie is going for. Instead of him feeling just like some guy who is really capable and really dangerous and really sadistic, but constantly underestimated by Supergirl and Ruthie, because of that is able to lead them on this really interesting chase, and also exists as a character who is not supposed to look necessarily like a bad guy. He can be dangerous, kind of swarthy like a pirate, but it's this idea that like a supervillain can just be some guy. We all have that in us, and we have to choose what we're going to do with it, right? Not that we can all be a supervillain that shoots crypto, but you know what I mean. In this movie, they've turned him into, for lack of a better comparison, a Ravager. They gave him these studs on his face and some sort of like machinery. He looks like your standard kind of space villain, but like, it's a weird choice. First of all, and I don't have any expertise on this, it does feel like it's evoking certain cultures in a way that's like, they're alien bad guys. I'm not saying that means the movie's racist or something. It's just a little weird that they chose to do that to make him, I assume, seem more menacing. But this feels like the Superman trunks problem, where like, do you put Superman's trunks in a movie? Can you make them look cool? And it's like, you better. It should be the test, because if you can't make Superman's trunks look cool, you're not going to make the rest of him look cool. With this, it's like, if you can't make Krem scary by just looking like some guy, you're not going to be able to pull off the rest of this book. I'm not saying that means this movie is definitely not going to work, but I really don't like that choice here. Also, it just blows my mind that they have Matthias Schoenhardt, who, if you grew out the beard and the hair, I feel like would look just like the character from the comics, and instead it looks all studded and cybery, and I don't like it. I really don't. The more I sit with it, the more I don't like it. I will say Molly Alcock looks great. Eve Ridley, who plays Ruthie, looks great. I think I took for granted how much she feels like the Ruthie from the books. Very small, but also very headstrong, really driven in a way that Supergirl's kind of not. But I think she will have a presence and not get lost in scenes with like Supergirl and Lobo and all that. We see Superman, played by David Corenswet here. I like that he is an asset. The idea of like, we should show them Superman so they get excited about the Supergirl movie. I don't think that would have happened 5 years ago. And I don't think Superman was in that spot. So I like that they feel confident about that character here. I also, and another thing like credit, I think her costume looks great. I wish they could get over these collars, because I think if you take the collar off of her costume and definitely off of Clark's, you have the two best Superman and Supergirl costumes put to screen. But maybe that's something, because they love to make new costumes for these movies. Maybe Man of Tomorrow will have no collar. That would be great. But yeah, my big thought coming out of this trailer, and again, this doesn't mean the movie is bad, but the trailer exists to sell me the movie, right? It is the movie putting its best foot forward and saying, this is why you should see this. It just does not look as good as it feels like it should. And does it have to be exactly like the book? No, but like, why is everything dusty? And I'm sure what they'll say is like, well, we wanted it to be a Western. We wanted it to seem more grounded. But like, I think we're past that. I think you can still make a Western in space that is colorful. And I don't know why they chose not to do that. At least so far, everything we've seen. And like, just so much of this movie is sandy and brown. Like the planet she's flying out of, obviously this nowhere bar town looks a lot like that. Even the ship that they're fighting on, then that one scene, like that has way more personality and way more character in the book. But it just kind of looks like one of those ships from any one of those movies here. I will say there were some shots in this I liked. I did like the shot where Supergirl beats up all those guys by just throwing them all, and Ruthie's kind of hiding under the table. I think that's fun. I think that's creative. Like I said, Lobo looks perfect. I think the story of this is going to be fun, but that's my big takeaway, is just I had concerns about the look of the teaser, and my concerns still exist after seeing the trailer. That being said, like, this still could be good. This does not have to be a flop or anything like that. And you know, as I said, that reminds me of a video I watched recently by Lindsay called Let's Compare and Contrast Disney's Flop Eras. And it's really interesting because it goes through the different eras of Disney and saying like, oh, we look back on this as a really successful one, but at the time, this was not a big hit, or like this almost sunk the studio. But with perspective, we create these narratives. We tell these stories about the people telling these stories. And I found that interesting. And you can watch that video along with all my videos early and ad-free and tons of other videos on this video sponsor, Nebula. Nebula is, say it with me, a subscription streaming service that I and a bunch of other really cool people helped create. Nebula has evolved so much over the last 7 years. Sure, you can still watch all my videos early and ad-free. You can watch videos by a bunch of other creators you probably already love. But one of the most exciting things about Nebula is our original programming. Tom Scott has a new series called England, where he goes to every English county to find something interesting. Did you check out this first episode where Tom Scott goes to Leicestershire and he visits a bell making factory? You see the entire process, learn how bells are made, and it is not how you would expect, especially since this bell making factory is hundreds of years old and they're still working with some of the same techniques from a century ago. Tom Scott even gets to use a sledgehammer to break one of the bells a little, because shockingly, it's hard to do. It's hard to use a sledgehammer to break an enormous bell. And each episode of England is going to be on Nebula for a week before it goes anywhere else. On top of that, we got a series that I love watching called Abolish Everything, where someone, maybe a comedian, maybe another YouTuber, makes an argument for something that should be abolished. They state their case, they make a very funny PowerPoint, the political establishment gets to weigh in, and then the audience decides what deserves to actually be abolished. This week they did the championship for the second season. They had a ton of really funny people on it. I've never been on that show, maybe sometime in the future. I think I'd be a fun abolitionist. And then later this year, although hopefully not too much later, Nebula's first original dramatic scripted series, Subliminal, comes out with the episode that I wrote, which I cannot wait for you guys to watch. Nebula is the best way to support all of the creators you already love and all the creators you don't know you're going to love, but then you're going to love them when you see them on Nebula. You can also download the videos to your phone, which saves you data when you're not at home. And there are not AI videos on Nebula, so this isn't going to be like YouTube where you go on and you watch a video in a minute or two and you're like, something's off here, and then you realize like, oh, this video is AI. which happens on YouTube and other platforms way more than I would like to admit. Nebula, we all got real stuff made by real creators, and that's why it's great. And a year of Nebula is already a steal at $60 a year, $5 a month. But if you go to go.nebula.tv/thenandocut, you can get a year of Nebula for just $30. That is $2.50 a month. It is an amazing deal. Again, go to go.nebula.tv/NandoVMovies to check it out. So that's all I got. Stay safe. I'll see you guys next time.